Hello, friends. Thank you for tuning in to Don't Feed the Narcs, my YouTube channel. Welcome again. If you haven't already, please take a moment to like, share, subscribe. Please get the message out. I have been lurking in the narcissistic abuse support recovery community for a very long time. I have not actively participated very much, as you know. But one thing I've noticed over the years is that this community, not only is it growing, but it's changing. It's growing in size, but it's also growing in knowledge, because the type of information that's being made available on YouTube is actually changing. It's moving away from just talking about what are the traits of narcissists, what are the red flags, meaning diagnosing the problem, into survivors are actually getting on and sharing their experiences. And it's wonderful because it takes very abstract concepts and detached descriptions and puts them in a real life context that people can connect with. And that's why I'm doing this video today, and the topic is the empathic supernova. There is very little information about this, and I myself didn't even know what this was called until a few months ago, that I learned that there was an actual name for this, but I have become an empathic supernova, and I'm going to tell you my story of what happened. So let's go back in history a few years back to my previous significant other, who was my husband, when I realized that, oh my goodness, I had married another narcissist. I was so upset with myself, but I felt like I can't get out of this marriage. This is, I've got to make this work somehow. So I spent a lot of time researching, how to live with a narcissist, how to make it work, how to get them to act different. If I do this, they'll do that. And it's like over time, I just realized, oh my God, I feel like my life is a chess game. And it was so exhausting to constantly be, I make this move, he makes that move. I make that move, he makes this move. And it's like he was right with me. He stayed right with me no matter what I did. And it was wearing me out. I realized I didn't even love him anymore. And I just thought, this cannot be life. This cannot be marriage. I don't know what to do. But I just reached a point where I just said, you know what? I've got to make a stand, because I've got children and he's not their father and he's starting to abuse them, and I'm just not going to do this anymore. So I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to break him down. Instead of him breaking me down, I'm going to break him down. So I kind of felt guilty about what I was doing, but not enough to not do it. So what did I start doing? I started when he'd say, I love you, I quit saying, I love you too. So I quit telling him I love you. I would just smile and kind of bat my eyelashes. And at first, he didn't think anything of it. But after a while, after, 4 or 5 months of this, he started commenting, you don't ever say I love you anymore. And I just give him a kiss. But then he really started commenting on it. And I quit being affectionate with him. I'd he'd go in to kiss me and I'd turn my face so that he'd get my cheek. And it really pissed him off. But just little by little, I started doing all of these things to him. And I know he noticed it because he was complaining about it. And I just started slowly pulling away all affection, but I didn't shut down and become like a frigid, cold fish. As a matter of fact, I did that at the same time that I embarked on a serious leveling up of my physical appearance. So I changed my hair. I got a more youthful hairstyle. I lost weight. I started to get rid of my frumpy clothes, and I started dressing sexier. When we went out on Saturday nights, I kind of did a little bit of eye flirting with other men, or when a younger man would walk by. My husband's almost 60. When a younger man would walk by, I'd kind of like out of the corner of my eye watch him walk by. Or if my husband was talking to me, I'd kind of lean to the side like I was looking around him at someone else, and he would like literally turn around and look to see who I was looking at. But then I'd be like, "Oh, what were you saying?" I was doing all this, and it was driving him crazy. But here's the problem, is that he did kind of ratchet up his abusiveness towards me. And then when he realized that it wasn't really affecting me, he turned on my kids. And at that point, I'm like, all right, this is getting really bad. And then I started spending a lot of time on Facebook. And I'm not really a Facebook person, but, you know, when I decided to do all this, I was kind of like, I'm going to gaslight this guy. So I was gaslighting him. I turned on I joined every group on Facebook that I could. I started friending a bunch of people. I installed Messenger on my phone, and I turned on every known Facebook notification known to man, so that my phone was constantly dinging. I mean, just constantly. And every time my phone would make a noise and my husband would look at me because he knew it was Facebook, I just kind of like roll my eyes like, oh, there's another one. I'm just like, oh, I can't deal with this. I'm so sick of these people. But he would just be like staring at me. He'd never say anything, but I'd get that narcissistic stare, be like, oh, I wish people would just leave me alone. But I did it the right way. I wouldn't go look at my phone. I'd leave my phone in the other room. But he'd hear it dinging, and you could see him turn his head. So he knew it was my phone. But I would just keep on doing what I was doing. And he noticed, like, I'm not jumping up and running to go see who it was. And so I think it actually piqued his curiosity even more. Or like if I'd get a messenger or a text message which had a different kind of notification bell, again, I would act annoyed. Instead of running to my phone, oh, who is it? I'd act annoyed. And that made more of an impression on him than if I had ran to my phone. He was just like, you could just see what was going on in his mind. Who is contacting her and she doesn't even want to talk to this person? What is going on with my wife? So I started that up. And then after a while, he had confronted me so many times about, how come you don't say I don't love you don't say I love you. And I said, because I don't love you anymore. And I just said it just like that, like totally cold and dead. And he was like, what? And I said, I'm not in love with you anymore. I don't love you anymore. How can you say that? And I said, because you've just done too many things and you've killed the love. So, you know, I'm sorry, I'm committed to you. I care about you, and I intend to stay faithful to you and be your wife, but I don't love you. And oh my God, this guy spent a year killing himself trying to win my love back. But here's the thing, is that it was a lot of empty gestures. It's like, I mean, so he was like buying me flowers every week, but like they weren't great quality flowers. They were like cheap grocery store flowers, and making a big deal about it. Constantly sending me text messages and YouTube videos and I love you and little love notes. And it was just like, you know, I would show appreciation, but I never did say I love you back. He took me on a like a weekend getaway for our anniversary, and he tried so hard to impress me, and I just wouldn't let myself be impressed. And I even kind of complained, and because I was just like, you know, this guy's not really showing me a good time, and he's acting like he knows this town, and I can tell that he doesn't know. But anyway, so I did that for a long time, and then things started to get really bad. He's a business owner. His business started having, and it's just part of the cycle of business where you have downturns in business. But his false self is tied into his business. So you really cannot separate his false self and his business identity. They are so intertwined. So when his business has a normal downturn where he loses customers and income's down, it always affects how he feels about himself. His self-esteem goes down. And so his way of trying to get fuel from me is not through positive loving, it's through abuse. once he got out of the once I got out of the golden period with him, he quit using love bombing to get fuel. Like he would temporarily love bomb me, maybe so that I'd be intimate with him or something, but it would be something very short-lived that might not last more than an hour. Most of the time, his preferred method for gaining fuel from me was through abusiveness. And this very last downturn in his business, he got really, really bad off. And I think he was actually depressed and having a lot of anxiety. But he just started mistreating me and my kids more and more and more. And the thing is that he had started to get physical. And so the very last week, I was just saying to the kids, we got to get this guy out of here. And by then, he'd already threatened to divorce me whenever we had a disagreement. And he had started to get to the point where he'd disappear for a couple of days at a time. He'd go stay in a hotel room. And I knew the hotel he was in, but still, that's just not right. Well, a couple of months before we finally split up, he was gone for 4 days. And he had spent in 4 days' time $1,000. And of course, that's not right when you have a joint checking account. So that's when I made the decision. All right, I got to pull a plug on this. So at that point, I just decided I'm done sharing money with him. So I went out, I opened a new bank account. I took half of the money out, what belonged to me. I put it in my new account. And when he finally came home, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I said, I'm going to pay my bills. You pay your bills. And that's that. And, I noticed, I look back in retrospect, from that point on, for the rest of our relationship, he never treated me the same. So that's how I know that my resources were a big part of the attraction for him, because I have a very well-paying job. I make almost 6 figures. I'm making a lot more money than him as a small business owner. He does okay, but anyway, and I own the house that we live in and all that, so I could tell the thrill was gone for him. He just really didn't put much effort into our relationship after that. But anyway, so like the week leading up to before we split, I could tell he was just finding all kinds of little excuses to be mad at me for some reason. And then, I was just telling my kids, God, we got to get this guy out of here. This is just getting horrible. I can't live like this. And I remember praying to God, please remove him from this situation. And like 2 hours later, I go into the bedroom and I discover some of my jewelry's missing. About $4,000 worth of jewelry that I had laying in a dish next to the bed was gone. And he was the only other person that had been in the bedroom. So I knew he took it. And so I got one of my kids. I said, hey, I need a witness. Just stand here in the hallway. And I confronted my husband when he was taking a nap. I said, hey, I want my jewelry back. He's like, what? I don't know nothing about your jewelry, da-da-da. And so you have to understand is that my husband was the person that gave me the jewelry, and I know that it was a big deal for him to spend that much money on it. Like, he had never done something like that before. And he was always really paranoid about me losing it, and we got to take it to get it examined and keep it clean. And the fact that he's like, I don't know where your jewelry's at, where your jewelry's at, and he didn't show any interest in even helping me to look for them, to me was the proof that he, in fact, was the one that took them. And I'm like, well, if you don't give them back, I'm going to have to file a police report. He said, like, fine, go ahead, call the police. So I did. And when I was on the phone with 911, he assaulted my son in the hallway for no reason. And so we had police out here, and we separated for just for 2 days. And he came, when he came back after 2 days, he filed a false police report against me that I had stolen firearms from him. Just to get back at me. And so at that point, I'm like, I'm getting a restraining order and getting this guy removed. So, but unbeknownst to me, after he had come back and he was trying to play nice and, hey, we need to work this out and da-da-da-da and all this, he had gone and hired a lawyer and filed for divorce. And had I not gotten the restraining order, the domestic violence order, and had him removed, if he had just been able to sweet talk me into forgetting everything like he had been all the other times, I would have been blindsided by the divorce, because I never thought he would divorce me. Even though he threatened it, I just thought it was idle threats. But see, I cut him off at the pass. I did an end run around him, and that restraining order caught him off guard. He never thought I'd ever do anything like that. So that's how we got him out of the house. And luckily, I had already separated my money out from him, and so I didn't have to worry about that. And because of the incident involving a minor child, he's now being investigated for child abuse by the state, and it's not going well for him. So anyway, I mean, I could go into more details, but I just wanted to give an example of how an empath can go supernova. And it's just, if you think about like all the things that I did, I mean, there's definitely a part of me that's like, oh, I hate that I had to do that. And I hate that people think I'm, you know, like I hated doing those things, because if someone did that stuff to me, I was just like, it's beyond cringy. And I have an adult son that doesn't live with us that's totally turned against me because he thinks what I've done to this innocent man is just, you know, reprehensible, and I have no excuse for myself. But so again, just to summarize, my supernova, and I didn't know that that's what it was called, but that's exactly what I did. I started acting like the narcissist to damage him and get him in a weakened state, so that I could get him out of here, and I believe it worked. So the things that I did was, gray rock really wasn't enough, because that doesn't really damage them. So I started withholding all affection from him, and, you know, like refused to say I love you. So I told him, I said, yeah, I don't love you. I said, you know, and I'll stay married to you, and I'm going to stay faithful to you, but I don't love you. So I did that. I leveled up my appearance. I didn't blatantly flirt with men. See, I was really subtle about it, which I think is more powerful to a narcissist, because if you were really over the top, they'd be like, ah, she's just trying to make me jealous. But because I was so subtle about it, where it'd be like just like a fleeting glance at someone, or when he was talking, I'd let my eyes, if we were out in public, I'd let my eyes drift off to someone else, like just right over his shoulder, so he would know she's not paying attention to me, but she's trying to hide who she's looking at. He literally would turn around and look to see who I was looking at. And then when he turned back around, I'd be looking at him, what were you saying? You know, I did that for like almost a year. And it was, you know, obviously my physical level up was very obvious. And I was posting pictures on Facebook. I'm not a big Facebooker, and I don't post like these big, huge, you know, verbal diarrhea posts like my husband used to, or still does, or whatever. It'd be like just a picture, which is much more potent to a narcissistic person, and, you know, most people in general. So I'd post a picture of myself, and like people would be like, oh my God, you're aging in reverse. And I mean, I'd have like all kinds of men like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. And it's like, these are people I don't even know, but you know, you add as many men as you can on Facebook, right? And my husband was seeing all that stuff. Oh, I forgot to tell you, like back on Valentine's Day, just to hurt my feelings, because he was still mad about the whole financial separation thing. He didn't think I deserved a real Valentine's Day, so he did the bare minimum, and he picked a fake fight with me 2 days before Valentine's Day, and he blocked me on Facebook. So when he tried to unblock me and refriend me, I never did accept his friend request. So we've been unfriended and, you know, unblocked since that day, and it's like it was all his fault. And it's like, so then he couldn't even see what I was up to on Facebook, but I was getting all these notifications all the time, and it's like, well, he deserved that. And then of course acting like he was really boring. So when he tried to do things to impress me or like show me a good time, I would just act bored, like, you know, or he'd be telling a story, I'd be like, yeah, I've heard this story like about 4 or 5 times. And I would just act really blasé, not pissed off, but just like bored and blasé. Just stuff like that. Or when we'd go out in public, like to a bar or something, because occasionally we do stuff like that. I would just be like friendly, not flirty with other men, but friendly. And of course, you know, when you're in a bar, if a pretty girl is friendly to a guy, he's going to flirt with her. And see, my husband, because of his background, he does lip reading. And so I was on the other side of this bar, and this guy was trying to chat me up at the bar, and I was being friendly, but I basically dismissed him. I said, oh, I'm here with my husband, and da-da-da-da. And I walked away, and the next day, my husband's like, you do know I can read lips? I go, yeah. And he goes, well, I know exactly what was going on up at that bar. And I said, oh, when I was ordering my drink, because he refused to go get me a drink. So I'm like, I'll go get my own drink. And he's like, I saw that guy talking to you, and I said, yeah, I blew him off. And see, that resonates more with a narc than if you said, oh, yeah, he was asking me, all these things about me. And I was telling him, when I said I blew him off, that's much more powerful to a narcissist, which is, in fact, what I did. I said, oh, I'm here with my husband. But anyway, so there's probably other examples of a much more dramatic supernova, but you have to tailor it to your situation. And I did the things that I knew played on my husband's biggest fears. The fear of abandonment, losing me to another man, him seeing that I could have options that he's just not counting on, and that I'm no longer dazzled by him. Or, I was no longer impressed by him. I didn't love him anymore. And I just really didn't care. I didn't care what kind of relationship we had, and that I would be perfectly happy to go the rest of my life just having nothing with him. I think that really scared the crap out of him. The fact that he had become boring to me and that other people were more interesting. The fact that I had leveled up and people believe that I'm younger than what I am. And then, of course, the ultimate supernova attack on him was because of the type of narcissist he is. He has to uphold this. I'm a man of God. I'm a virtuous man. I'm a family man. I'm a good husband. That's his public persona because of the type of work that he does with the public. And so the way that I had him removed from the house, and the whole domestic violence charge and the child abuse thing was very, very devastating to someone like him. So those are the things that I did to go supernova. Please comment down below if you yourself have gone supernova. Please put a supernova down in the comments section. Share your experiences, and if you have any questions or suggestions for a future video that you want me to do, please feel free to share that. So we will meet up again in the near future. Take care, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.